Stu here with Raid Shadow Legends. Good morning from Tokyo, Japan. I just woke up and saw all these 22 new champions. Raid Shadow Legends, they said, okay, you guys have been asking for an old school fusion. We're going to give it to you. I know you're tired of the fragment fusions because you've been saving up all your rares and all your epics. Well, here it is. We are going to release 22 new champions, I assume on Monday, since they said that's when the fusion is going to come out. And what does it take to make a fusion? It takes 21 new champions. So we have 16 rares here, which I don't know if we're going to use very many of these rares, but they are going to flood the market with 16 rares. We do need space to summon in this game. Still, we need space in the game. But just imagine this. Here is a picture of Tormund's fusion from back in the day. Here we go. So we're going to have all 16 of these rares down here for the new fusion. We'll have the 4 epics that we'll go over in just a minute. And then we'll have the new legendary champion that we already talked about, the Lizardman one, up here at the very top. And they did give us one more legendary champion to get out there. This looks like, this Barbarian definitely looks like she's going to be chilling with War Mother and eating whatever is available. Everything. Eating it all. Right there. So we went over this Lizardman already and all the stuff he could do. I guarantee you the fusion, you remember we had a fusion once, and I believe it was the Rotos fusion, to where we couldn't get any of the epic champions. No matter what you did in the tournaments, on the events, you couldn't get any of the epics. All you could get were the rares. So you had to grab all those rares, turn them into epics, and then fuse the champion. Well, this went a step further. Now you're going to have to get all the rares anew, because you're not going to be able to, you haven't saved up any of these. These are all brand new champions. You're going to have to get all these champions brand new from the events, from summoning, whatever you want to do, and make the epics, and then you'll be able to make this champion right here. Pretty crazy how they took what we wanted and twisted it all up. But that's what we're going to have to do. We did get new champions. I like the epic champions. They're pretty interesting. Some of the rares are okay as well. I'm not going to go over every single one of those rares. We could do that in a different video. Or we can play those rares when they come out. It would be fun to play new champions. It always is. If they're legitimate rares, like Frozen Banshee, Catacomb Smasher, if they're good rares out there, we will use them. This right here, this epic champion, I think is pretty cool. Barath, the Bloodsoaked, has some cool moves here. Looks like we could use him as Fire Knight as well, coming in here with multi-hit all the time. Fill the turn meter, decrease the turn meter. We've got shields here on everybody, all allies. You're going to attack 2 times, and then you're going to put a shield up of 25% of the damage inflicted on all allies for 2 turns. That's pretty strong, but not only that, on this move, the second hit heals all allies by 10% of the damage inflicted. I think that's pretty sweet. It's on a 4-turn cooldown now. Might go down to a 3-turn cooldown. But for you to be able to come in here and do some damage, I feel like Barbarians are doing okay lately. Then they've got a new Barbarian lady up here. And this lady's kind of situational with this move here. Or not situational, it just depends on what the enemy has on them as far as their defense or attack based. But here, I like this. Decrease the damage of all allies received by critical hits by 30%. So we'll be able to work in some cool things with her. This will be on a 3-turn cooldown for your ally protect and then give strength into herself. I'm not really rushing to go out and get her, but I do like the decrease of damage. Anytime we get a passive in there that can decrease some damage, it's pretty good. Back to Barath, the Bloodsoaked. Sorry about that. So he's got some pretty interesting stuff, and then attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 100% chance, I'm sure, to decrease attack, and then another chance to remove an increased attack on them. This one, the second hit, has a 100% chance to place a decreased defense debuff. I'm sure it's going to be 100 for 2 turns, and then remove it as well. Pretty interesting. Single targets here is what we're getting, but some good champions. Very good champions. But please, before we go even further, let me know how you feel about the fusion down below. Do you feel like they kind of took our words and twisted everything up? Did they say, okay, here's the fusion you've been asking for. We understand. Are we going to get additional champion roster space for this? Because I don't have any space right now. It's pretty weird that we're getting 16 new rares. Like, I don't mind throwing in some new champions for a fusion. That's fine. But being like, they could have just taken the rares out. They could have given us some other rares in the game, because they're giving us a legendary champion here, the War Mother's best friend, the BFF. They could have just taken out all the rares, used the rares that we currently have, given us a few select. Like, I'm talking 3 rares that are decent. 3 rares that can actually be used in the game. I'll have 16 rares are a lot, so I'm sure there's a few rares in there that we can use a lot of, all the time. They have the lower versions of the debuffs and buffs. I did see one in there that can do a decreased defense at 60% on a single target. The Dwarf, we've needed that. We needed a rare that's a different affinity other than War Maiden, but I was hoping for AoE. We also got that little piggy guy that can do AoE, but he doesn't even do it at 100% chance a while back. So now we've got this Dwarf that's a void affinity. Might do some work. Okay, let's go back over these epics though. But let me know down below, how do you feel about them saying, okay, we're giving you what you asked for, but then they do it in their typical fashion and twist it all up. Please let me know that. We have 5 Goes West, the little mouse right here, which is like a baby Draco. A baby single target Draco, basically. The A2 attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance to apply 2 poisons, right? And a 50% decreased attack debuff, probably on a 3-turn cooldown. So you can go up to somebody, apply 2 5% poisons, and then decrease attack, which is very strong. That's handy. And then up here, just the A1 just attacks, and we also steal 5% of the target's turn meter, and the A3 attacks 3 times. The first hit, though, places the decreased defense. The second hit places the weaken, and the third hit heals this champion by 4% of her max HP for every debuff on the target. So a strong heal. A very strong sustained champion for single target going in there and doing it. And this one can be used as well. If we need to go in there for Spider, as long as she does this A3 first, go in there and place all these debuffs for everybody to follow up afterwards, we could use that as well. So it's always good to have these kind of champions. Don't mind that at all, but she is single target, so I don't know if I'm going to run out and use her right away, but she's solid. She's a solid epic champion. This guy, Barath, I think is very cool. And then we have Caden, which is spelled exactly like my son's name. Attack one enemy, we have a chance to provoke. I like this. This guy's going to do damage based off of defense. Caden is very simple. I like how simple he is, and I like everything that he does. Doing damage based off of defense means we have sustain, and then he attacks all enemies. You know I love those AoEs, and he's going to place a decreased attack on everybody out there, probably on a 3-turn cooldown. So if he's doing damage based off of defense, doing mass AoE damage, protecting himself, decreasing attack for your team so they don't get hit as hard, also doing a provoke, I'm sure that goes up higher than 15% with books in there, and then he's got a revive. So I got a DPSer that's sustained, and then I got a reviver. Whenever it says revive 2 random allies, it's just going to revive whoever's dead. If there are 3 dead, yes, it will be 2 of those random. But if there's 1 dead, it's just going to bring that 1 person back. And if there are 2 dead, it will bring those 2 exact ones back. If there are 3 or 4, of course, it will be random on who they bring back, but still a very strong ability. Revives 2 allies at 50% HP and places a 60% increased defense. Something like this, I think, is really good to have in teams that you go through Ice Golem or anything else where you're going to have an issue of losing 1 champion or 2 champions along the way. And you have a strong champion, also this guy, Caden, to decrease attack on them, to provoke, to make sure that your guys survive. So I like that guy. He's simple, but he's good. He's a very good one. This champion has a lot of things going on depending on what his HP is at. All of them aren't the greatest, it looks like. Attack all enemies, though. We do have an AoE here, probably again on a 3-turn cooldown. This one here, though, attack one enemy, steals 50% of the target's turn meter, and then has a chance to place a stun. Steals 100% of the turn meter if this champion is less than 50% HP. Is still pretty good. But these kind of champions, he is a void epic champion, but a lot of times we don't play these because we're not betting. We don't want to bank on any of these conditions, right? We want good, clean runs. We never want to bank on these. Decrease the damage taken by this champion by 20% when they drop below 60% HP. That is pretty strong. So we might be able to find an area to play this champion, probably, but for me, these situational ones aren't the best. But that's all we've got. Those were all 4 of the epics out there. We've got a lot of rares to review and go over. I'm not going to read over all of them right now. We can do that at another date. Tell me down below what you think are the best ones. I did read over them last night before I conked out and went to sleep. But just keep in mind, we are doing this with a new fusion here. It's going to be our Lizardmen right up at the top. And we're going to have all these other ones put in here. How do you feel about that? Let me know. You know how I feel about it. Just tell me how you feel about it. Appreciate all your time, the love, the support. I will see you guys all on a video soon.